3 o'clock in the afternoon and it don't get dark till 8:30.
So yeah, for me and Phil kind of joke that a lot of people are like, oh, you bought a deer desert, and the same with our property. So when he bought this farm, when this was all hay, you weren't seeing any deer in here.
Dissed it, I got buckwheat in here, and I had a really good buckwheat stand in here. Content when I dissed it up, we got it in. You can see some of this buckwheat stubble right there. How it dried up really good. Great south-facing slope there for late season, with a north-facing slope for early season on the other side. There's a half mile of west-facing slope over there.
Very nice. So as far as the slopes, I presume you're referring to where they want to bed, whether it's hot or whether it's cold.
All of this fescue goes dormant and gets brown, and the deer actually move off like they do in northern, far northern climates where they go to deer yards. Well, they go find
All right, we're going to get to skinny on what's going on with this one here.
Okay, so this was fescue pasture, just like you've seen in other places, and we'll get a clip of that up here in just a second.
This is the hay, the fescue pasture, the before look. This is what everything started out here at Phil's farm.
And so I terminated it. I've worked the soil, dissed it. I got buckwheat in here, and I had a really good buckwheat stand in here. It was the right moisture content when I dissed it up and we got it in. And you can see some of this buckwheat stubble right there. How it dried up really good and just died off. And so once it died off, I came back and I just put the cutters on the disc fairly straight and with the drag, and just went through and rolled it right back down and chopped it in. And what I'm waiting for now is for a second weed seed germination, because there's decades of seed in this ground, and so before I plant and then have to compete with that, I want to let it come up. I'll let them weeds come up maybe yay far, and then we'll terminate it, and then we'll disc it in and we'll plant it in our fall brassica mix and get that going. But I mean, I could plant it now, but I'm afraid I would have weed seed come in and have to fight that. So yeah. Once we do that, it was just a shallow till, because you can see we didn't even take up.
Right.
We didn't do much. We just scratched it enough to get a little bit, maybe a ½ inch.
Yep.
Maybe a ½ inch, 3/4 inch is all the deeper. And with that drag, we busted up clods. Maybe we might pick up a few rocks, but we can't pick them all up.
No.
But this is a good plot. We got a great ridge down on that end. We're going to put up a scent tight blind back there. So even in late season, you can hunt out of that blind with low impact of getting into it. They'll come up that ridge, and if they feed through the green field and head out to the corn and beans, back beyond, with the pinch coming this way, that's still going to be a great late season boat opportunity, as well as a great.
What's that pinch right there? What's that, about 50 yards across from left to right?
I'd say it's only about 50 yards across from where there's a pond over there to the edge of the woods. So they'll have to bottleneck right through there, and you could bow hunt that anytime.
Nice.
But in the late season, we'll be able to get into a nice scent tight and a warm blind if it gets too cold. But even for late muzzleloader, this is going to be great. All through our rifle season, it's going to be great. Like I said, we can turn around and shoot back to the corn and beans if they sneak in from the other direction. Plus there's a road that goes back to the west. We'll have a clearing opened up because it's a ridge top also, so anything crossing over the road, just going from one holler to the next, we'll be able to get an opportunity, at least with gun there. So we're just trying to get the structure built on this property and see what we can do. We may have to make adjustments next year, but I think the way the property lays out, it's good. We've got a great south-facing slope there for late season, with a north-facing slope for early season on the other side, and then that's all. There's a ½ mile of west-facing slope over there to accommodate late season going forward, and this is west facing slope right here, so it's got really good topography on this property.
Very nice. So as far as the slopes, I presume you're referring to where they want to bed, you know, whether it's hot or whether it's cold, where the sun's going to hit them.
Yeah, when it's hot, they're going to be on the north trying to get shade, and when it's cold, they're going to be on the south trying to get sun.
Yep.
So, you know, after it defoliates the trees in the fall, when they go into their hibernation, the south side will be clear and they'll be warm as can be, sitting there all day waiting to come up, and the does are already bedding on the edges of all this property, or of these food plots, I should say, and they just come out and they feed instantly. We're seeing deer at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they don't get dark till 8:30.
So yeah, for, you know, me and Phil kind of joke that a lot of people are like, oh, you bought a deer desert, and the same with our property. So when he bought this farm, when this was all hay, you weren't seeing any deer in here.
No.
In the hayfield, in the open field.
No, not in the hayfields. I normally wouldn't run cameras, but since I didn't know the property, I put up 5 cameras just to see what was out there. And I think I went 2 weeks before I even got a picture of a deer, because in the wintertime, all of this fescue goes dormant and gets brown, and the deer actually move off like they do in far northern climates, where they go to deer yards. Well, they go find winter wheat fields around here, and they move off to them. Well, if we keep enough food here, we should harbor deer all year long, which will allow us to hold some bucks all year, season to season, and we can try to bring up that age structure of what we're looking for bucks, and be shooting them 4.5 and 5.5 year old bucks.
That's what I try to encourage guys. Make your own luck, man. It's hard work, but doggone it. Look at how beautiful. I mean, they're seeing beautiful deer right out their back door, hitting them corn and beans now, and some nice ones. I won't give away none of his secrets, but from what we're coming from, the age structure here, granted they've had a 4-point restriction, is obvious. It's obvious there's mature deer already.
Yeah, the big thing here is we've got large property versus Southern Illinois, where we were, at least at my farm, is I was surrounded by a lot of Shawnee National Forest. So all them guys would come from up north, and if it hopped, it flopped. If it was brown, it's down, and they filled their tags, and that's their choice. That's their legal choice. But shooting a 4.5 was tough. You know, I had to shoot a lot of 3.5s because they weren't going to make it past there. Here,
that's right.
I've got half a dozen 3.5 year olds that far exceed the 3.5s that we had in Southern Illinois, but because we now have 4.5s working and multiples,
it's a game changer.
The opportunity, it'll be easier for me to be a little more patient here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.